Google is finally back in the tablet business with this guy, the Pixel tablet. The last tablet that Google had was the Pixel Slate from back in 2018, which sold for $600, so $100 more than the Pixel tablet. But that was such a bad tablet. It was painfully slow because of the Intel M3 chip and the eMMC storage. It was full of bugs. Yeah, it was really, really bad. To the point where Google discontinued the tablet and they haven't released a single one until the Pixel tablet. So let's take a look and see how the Pixel tablet compares against Apple's iPad Air in multiple different categories: design, display, cameras, performance, and so much more. Starting off with the design, as you can probably tell, they look quite a bit different, and they also feel very different in the hand. Despite having a full metal back, the iPad actually feels lighter than the Pixel tablet and also quite a bit thinner, and that's because, well, it is. The iPad is only 6.1mm thin compared to 8.1 on the Pixel tablet, and weighs 461 grams compared to 493 on the Pixel tablet. And the backs also feel quite different. So on the iPad we have this really, really nice metallic feel. That's also cool to the touch since, you know, it's aluminium. Whereas on the Pixel tablet, this feels a bit like plastic, but also it's got this dusty, texturized feel to it, which actually reminds me of the old Pixel 5 from back in the day, as opposed to the newer design style of the Pixels that we have today. When it comes to the buttons, this is actually very similar on both. On the iPad we have two volume buttons, and then we have the power button, which also acts as a fingerprint reader. Same thing on the Pixel tablet, it's just that they're both on the same side. The Pixel tablet also has these rubber feet, two of them, which is a bit interesting as they don't seem to serve any purpose, even when the Pixel tablet is sitting in the dock. When it comes to the actual speed of the fingerprint readers, they're both really fast. I think the Pixel tablet is slightly faster, but that's mostly due to its animation being faster. And when it comes to the colors, the Pixel tablet comes in two colors. So we have the porcelain, which also comes with a white frame, and then the hazel, which comes with a black frame. And then with the iPad Air, we have 5 colors, from space gray all the way to the vibrant ones like purple and blue. Personally, design-wise, between the two, I do prefer the look and feel of the iPad Air. It just feels more premium and just screams higher quality compared to the Pixel tablet. Moving on to the displays, the biggest difference here is when it comes to the aspect ratio. So the iPad has a 4:3 aspect ratio compared to the 16:10 on the Pixel tablet. So what does this actually mean? Well, it means that when you're watching movies or videos, the Pixel tablet is actually going to be better because, as you can see, you can actually see a bit more on the Pixel tablet in one of our YouTube videos. You can actually zoom in as well on the Pixel tablet, which you cannot do in the YouTube app on the iPad. So the Pixel tablet is better for watching videos. However, the iPad is better for reading and productivity. As you can see, because of that taller display, we actually get to see more text. Now, there's also a difference when it comes to the resolution. So on the iPad Air, we have 2360 by 1640 compared to 2560 by 1600 on the Pixel tablet. What this means is that the Pixel tablet has a slightly higher PPI at 276 PPI compared to 264 on the iPad Air. And if I look closely, I can actually tell that the Pixel tablet is very, very slightly sharper, but the difference is extremely small, maybe like 5% or something like that. When it comes to the refresh rate, they both have a 60 Hz panel, unfortunately. However, the Pixel tablet does feel just slightly choppy. It doesn't actually feel 60 sometimes. That could be because of Apple's using a different scrolling method where it just scrolls smoother compared to what we have here on the Pixel tablet. And the last display difference is when it comes to the colors and the brightness. So I don't know if you guys can tell, but the Pixel tablet is a tiny bit brighter than the iPad Air, and the colors are also a bit more vibrant. And like I said, because of the brightness, the colors, and also because of the fact that you have this wider aspect ratio, the Pixel tablet is suited for anyone who watches more videos than reading articles and doing productivity work, which is where the iPad shines. Now, when it comes to the speakers, they both feature 4 speaker grills, 2 on each side. So now let's do a speaker test.
You know that you control me. Guilty self-affliction. Prey on me when I'm lonely. But now you're feeling victim. My friends already told me that I don't wanna listen. 'Cause I love the way you hold me.
Right, this is really interesting because both me and Connor here, we both think that the Pixel tablet sounds quite a bit better than the iPad Air. I think it's the first time a non-Apple tablet sounded better. But of course, that a Pixel tablet also comes with its own dedicated speaker stand, and you simply just line up the tablet and it automatically connects and charges. So let's try it with the actual speaker. So it definitely sounded louder, of course, and a bit more bassy with the speaker, but I don't know, it wasn't that big of an improvement as I was expecting. So yeah, it's pretty good, just not quite as good as a dedicated speaker. Now, when it comes to cameras, I know, you probably will never take any photos with these back-facing cameras, but I think it's still interesting to see how they compare. So on the iPad, we have a 12 megapixel sensor compared to the 8 on the Pixel tablet, and the sensor on the Pixel tablet is also smaller at 1/4 inches compared to 1/3. And we also have a smaller aperture of f2.0 compared to f1.8 on the iPad. Now, when it comes to the actual photo quality, there is a huge difference between the two. The Pixel tablet looks like a very low-end smartphone, whereas the iPad looks a bit more acceptable. I don't know why the Pixel tablet looks so bad, but yeah, it just does. And video is also significantly better on the iPad, and I mean significantly better. Not just the resolution, which is 4K, by the way, on the iPad compared to 1080p on the Pixel tablet, but it is also 60 FPS compared to 30, and everything looks significantly sharper and way more detailed. The only time when the Pixel tablet was actually better in terms of the back-facing camera was when shooting at night. Since we have night mode on the Pixel tablet compared to, well, no night mode on the iPad, we got much better results. But other than that, the iPad has a much better back-facing camera. Now, when it comes to the front-facing camera, which is something that you'll probably use more than the back, the Pixel tablet uses the same sensor as it does on the back, whereas the iPad Air uses a more inferior sensor as it has on the back. On top of this, the iPad Air also has an ultra-wide lens, which allows for center stage functionality. So essentially, when you're in a video call, it can actually zoom in and follow you around. However, if you take a look at these selfies and this comparison, the Pixel tablet did much better and the image is significantly clearer as it didn't have to crop in. Not only that, but the Pixel tablet also has a better camera orientation for video calls, since we have a landscape orientation compared to the portrait on the iPad Air. So it just looks weird when I'm in a video call on the iPad Air. It looks as if I'm not even paying attention. So yeah, if you're doing a lot of video calls, then the Pixel tablet is a better choice. And this is also a very quick quality and microphone test on the Pixel tablet compared to the microphone and the video quality test on the front from the iPad Air. I also like how the Pixel tablet is using this hardware green LED to indicate when the camera is active. Now, another big difference between these two tablets is when it comes to accessories. So with the iPad Air, you have so much more accessory options. And I'm not just talking about the third-party ones. Yes, you do have way more cases and way more third-party options with the iPad Air, but I'm also talking about the first-party ones. For example, you can purchase Apple's Magic Keyboard, which works like a miracle. It is very expensive, but the trackpad is great, it supports gestures, the keyboard is awesome, and that is a very good accessory that kind of turns this into laptop replacement to some extent. Not even to mention the Apple Pencil, which obviously doesn't work on the Pixel tablet. In fact, there's no pencil support at all on the Pixel tablet. So if you do any graphics work, then of course the iPad Air is the only option here. In fact, the only accessory first party that the Pixel tablet has is this speaker hub. And I'm saying hub because this is not just a speaker, it actually does a bit more than that. It charges your tablet when it's connected to it, and it also has a bit of smart home functionality. As in, once you lock the Pixel tablet and it is charging on the stand, it will enter this home hub mode that has multiple different home screens to choose from that will display your smart home controls, the weather, and things like that. And some of them are really fun to look at. So again, this is very similar to Google's Nest Hub or the Nest Hub Max in terms of functionality. On top of that, it is a full tablet, so it actually does way more. And if you prefer that side of things, then this is the better option. But if you prefer the more productivity focused side of things, then the iPad Air is better when it comes to accessories. So what about the actual performance? Well, in the iPad we have the M1 chip compared to the Tensor G2 in the Pixel tablet. And there's a huge performance difference between these two chips. The M1 is a laptop and desktop class processor that we've seen in many Macs compared to the mobile chip that we have in the Pixel tablet. So again, if you're planning on doing any demanding things like video editing, photo editing, then the iPad Air is going to perform much better. If you're a serious gamer, then these games are also going to run better on the iPad Air. However, I'm not saying that this is a low-end chip at all. This is literally the same chip that Google uses in their flagship phones, the Pixel 7 Pro, for example. So this is as good as the Pixel 7 Pro. It's just that the iPad Air has a desktop class processor rather than, a tablet chip like the Pixel tablet. I mean, really, when we're using both, they would both feel very fast. I haven't really noticed any slowdowns on either of them, aside from just a few small hiccups on some web pages on the Pixel tablet. But other than that, really good performance on both. So what about the OS differences? We have iPadOS, which is pretty much iOS compared to Android, with Google's own skin on the Pixel tablet. And for the most part, you're gonna use these tablets in, apps, and these apps would run essentially the same. So for the most part, the experience would be very, very similar. Of course, you do have some special Google Smart features on the Pixel tablet, like photo unblur, live caption, now playing, which is really useful. As you can see, the song playing on the lock screen, even when you're not connected to the internet. But other than that, it's really just a matter of taste. With Google, you have this really fun UI, that's very, very fun to use, and even the wallpapers look really, really fun. Whereas on the iPad, you have this slightly more serious OS, you could say. But really, they're both really easy to use, very intuitive. So even if you were to give this to an elderly family member, I think they wouldn't have any issues with any of these tablets. One big difference, I would say, is when it comes to multitasking. So they both support side-by-side multitasking. Apple's version is actually a tiny bit better now, thanks to Stage Manager, which is very intuitive, very easy to use. You can have multiple windows, customize them. You can have this preview on the left-hand side. Whereas on the Google side, you don't really have the equivalent of Stage Manager. You can just have multiple side-by-side windows normally, like on any other Android tablet or phone. So Apple's implementation is slightly better. However, it doesn't actually work with all apps. So the apps need to have an iPhone version to be able to rescale like this. Whereas on the Pixel tablet, you can basically use any app that you want. That's just how Android works side by side. So, a couple of advantages here on the iPad and a couple of advantages here on the Pixel tablet. But really the biggest difference in terms of the OS will be when it comes to the apps that you're using, like I said before. And you do have way more tablet optimized apps on the iPad compared to the Pixel tablet. Not only that, but the iPad also has quite a few pro level apps. We have Final Cut Pro, we have Logic Pro, we have Xcode. You can literally make apps using the iPad. You have Filmic Pro for filming in a professional manner, Procreate. Yeah, there's just loads of professional apps on the iPad, whereas on the Pixel tablet, you don't really have any of those. Not only that, but the iPad Air also has a magical level of integration with Apple's ecosystem. By this I mean that you can even use the iPad Air as an external display for your MacBook. There's nothing like that special integration between the Pixel phone and the Pixel tablet. Which brings us to the price, which, by the way, is really, really weird. So in the US, the iPad Air costs $600 for the 64 gig model, compared to $500 for the 128 gigabyte Pixel tablet. Now, there's also a cheaper iPad that Apple sells, which is the 10th gen iPad. That one costs $449. So that one is actually closer to the Pixel tablet in price. However, here in the UK, the iPad Air costs £669. The Pixel tablet costs £600, or $764 if you were to convert. I don't know why it's so much more expensive than the US, but yeah, what I'm saying is that here in the UK, considering that the entry-level iPad costs $500, the Pixel tablet is actually closer to the iPad Air in price than it is to the entry-level iPad. So I think that what Google should have done is sell the Pixel stand separately. You can actually buy an additional one for $129, but you cannot remove this one from its original box to make the Pixel tablet cheaper. If they had done that, the Pixel tablet would have been $371, which would have made it a really, really good deal. Right now, it is just way too expensive, especially here in the UK. Especially when you consider that you can literally buy a Google Nest Hub for $100. That is cheaper than this speaker dock that doesn't really do much. I actually got one myself for about £50 here in the UK. So really that would have been the best approach, selling this as a standalone tablet for $371, and then you would be able to simply just buy a couple of home hubs or a couple of these speaker stands around your home if you really want to do that. So yes, right now the iPad Air is definitely a better device for those who want productivity work, and the Pixel tablet is, I guess, better for those who want a home hub, smarter home hub. But then again, you can just buy an iPad Air, or you can buy a 10th gen iPad and then buy a home hub separately. And that's also an option. And you also need to remember that you can buy both an iPad Air and an iPad Pro refurbished for about $469 for the iPad Air, the A14 model, or $549 for the refurbished A12Z iPad Pro. It comes with a 120Hz display that is also brighter, Face ID, better speakers, as well as an ultra-wide module and a lighter camera on the back. So really, if you're trying to decide between these two, the answer is just don't pick any of them. Simply buy a refurbished iPad, as you'll be much better off. and then use that remaining money up until the price of this iPad Air to buy one or even more Google Nest Hubs around your home. So yeah, let me know, what do you guys think of Google's new Pixel tablet? Do you think it has a future at this fairly high price point, or do you think that Google should indeed remove that speaker stand and drop the price considerably? Stay tuned for a potential Pixel Fold coverage, which I'm very excited for. I'm Daniel, this has been ZONEofTECH, and I'll see you guys in the next one. ZONEofTECH, signing out. Cheers.